Hi there, Kenny here, and just want to update you on my Royal Enfield Bullet 350. I've just attempted to do my first oil change on my bike, and the first oil change was done at about 600 kilometers by my dealer. 5,000. I'm actually not quite at 5,000 kilometers, so I'm at about 46 or 4,700. And I decided I wanted to give it a shot, changing out the oil on the Bullet 350. And, this obviously applies to the Classic, the Meteor 350 as well. So the first thing I had to do was remove my sump guard, which wasn't too hard at all. I'm not going to give you like precise measurements of the bolts. I don't remember it offhand, and this is not meant to be a know-how or step-by-step. So I really want to just give you my impressions of changing the oil for the first time, whether or not it's doable, how tricky it may have been, and just overall thoughts on the process and feelings on the process. As far as the sump guard goes, I do find it handy keeping the engine clean. You can see the picture here. I've got a bit of a mess going on underneath, but surprisingly, the engine stays quite clean. I don't notice much of a difference in sound. And it's just these 4 bolts that go on, and it's good to go. So I gave that a wipe while I had that off, and it's been clean now. And actually, it's still not sitting on the bike quite yet, but it will go on later this evening. What I picked up was 3 bottles of oil, and I believe they're 10W40 or 10W50. There's a picture that I can find somewhere. It's a 15W50 synthetic blend. Meets all the criteria. I did not have the Royal Enfield OEM liquid bullet, I think. But I'm not... I've always done oil changes on my cars, and what I found is that once the specs match up, and you are sticking with the blend of the oil that you need, you're generally pretty okay. And I'm going to attempt to change my oil filter and oil every 5,000 kilometers. No questions asked. That's just what I'm going to do. So I felt it was pretty fine for the job. First thing I did was I removed the plate for the drain underneath. You can see the picture draining, and I don't have videos. I kind of did this and half-assed, took some pictures, but this is not meant to be a high production. Look, I'm not going to give you guys a fine production here. My attempt with this channel is really just to do things off the cuff, cheap and cheerful. I'm going to try and do as much recording as I can on my smartphone, GoPro, nothing crazy. And here you can see the picture of the plate and the draining process. I find it to be a bit of a messy job compared to cars. Once I've done oil changes on cars, when you do it a couple more times, the process does eventually get cleaner and cleaner. This being my first, there's a lot of things I just don't think I could avoid. Like the plate itself, it is hard to push on something to hold the liquid in while you're unthreading the bolts. So once they kind of start going and you're kind of opening up the loosening the bolts, the liquid's just going to start coming out. There's not much you can do about it. So once you loosen up, drop the plate down. My warm-up procedure was I ran the engine for 10 minutes. Felt that it was getting hot. And what I found was after 10 minutes of idling, the oil does get hot, not hot enough to burn your hand, but you can handle working around the engine with your bare hands. It's not going to burn you. It is still going to be hot, but it's not going to burn you. So I found 10 minutes worked out really well. Once it's drained, I just let it sit. So I don't even want to guess how long I took to do this. I'm going to guess like an hour. I took my time. I wasn't in a rush. So once you unload the bolts, and this, once you get the plate drained, the next thing I did was pop out the the sump bolt. Here you can see the sump bolt here. And yeah, just let that sit. Let it drain, let it drip out. I did find shavings, metal shavings, and there's a picture here of said shavings. It wasn't too bad. I think I suspect there were maybe 3-4 visible pieces. This here being the largest one. And other than that, you know, seems okay. There's another picture of the shaving there on the plate there. And that's the biggest one. I mean, nothing else showed up, and this is only the second oil change, right? So I think it's doing pretty okay. I don't know for sure, but if you got thoughts, let me know. Yeah, once the plate is off, the bolt is off, just let it drain out. The next thing I did was I removed the plate for the oil filter. You still are going to lose a little bit of oil. It's still going to drip out. I did find that the previous dealer, the last oil change, the O-ring didn't quite sit completely right. You know, oil changes are one of those things I've discovered with cars that you're better off doing it on your own. It just, you know, it's on you if anything goes wrong, but you get the peace of mind knowing that it was done properly. I do feel like with motorcycles, it is one of those things like you got to DIY as much as you can, because this is machinery that you have to trust that will work for you. You can't kind of go blindly. You can't quite treat it like an appliance. So luckily the O-ring wasn't damaged, and I was able to reuse all of my O-rings. Here's a picture of the oil filter chamber. Haven't cleaned it up yet. The one thing that stumped me was I did get handed this like a crusher. You can see it here. It's like a ring that has a plastic. The middle black ring is rubber or hard plastic. He handed it to me saying it was an extra and spare backup crusher ring, but I wasn't sure if this was like a proper crusher ring, because if you look at the original crusher ring, it is like a solid piece of metal, right? Like a solid ring. So I didn't end up using it, and I don't know if that's indeed the purpose of that piece. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. I didn't end up using it because I didn't know what it was, and I didn't feel like asking the dealer. The next thing I did was I've dropped the filter into a little jug with the new oil, just to kind of soak everything up. Let that sit for about 5 minutes. And I kind of did everything reverse order. So once the oil filter was filled up, it went back on. I put on the plate, make sure that O-rings were intact and going on right. Then I put in the sump screw, the sump bolt, and the oil filter. The strainer itself got all the parts got sprayed down with brake cleaner. Kind of took my time letting it dry, and goes back on the bike. Here's a picture of the oil that came out. And this picture is the jug, and it just shows the amount. I ended up dumping a liter bottle into the jug here. And what is it, like 50 milliliter is the amount that the oil filter soaked up. So this is 950 milliliter going right into the engine afterwards. And the end result, and here's a picture of the oil level, as I'm kind of topping it up as I go. But the final number, I guess you want to say, is I think after it's all said and done, I dumped a liter in. This is the second bottle, and I've got about a little more over 200 milliliters left. So I think I used just under 1,800, 1.8 liters. And it seems on par for the oil change itself. And yeah. Overall, super easy. I did have to look into something. Yeah, I wasn't too sure about the total the total capacity, so I had to look that up. But I just wanted to triple check that. But once it's all done, I generally filled it just underneath the fill line, and I'm going to give it a few rides. Just keep an eye on it, and if it does dip, I'll add some more. I just want to make sure I don't overfill. But look, all in all in the process, I've changed oil filters on cars religiously. My thought on that process is that, it saves a lot of time doing this on your own, especially with a car. And once you do those oil changes, the savings alone, when you have to take your car to do a routine maintenance, or take a hit on something that you can't fix, I don't feel like I'm hit as hard because I've saved that money, doing my own oil changes on cars. So with motorcycles, I do feel like you get that extra peace of mind that things are done correctly. As far as torquing everything, I just made sure they were snug. I didn't follow any specifications on how tight these ought to be, but I ran it. Nothing seems to be leaking. I'm going to keep an eye on it. And yeah, overall, the process itself was pretty simple. I do feel like it's a little bit messy, and I can't foresee it being... I'll just keep a lot of rags handy. That's all I can say. But it is overall a very easy procedure. There's lots of video on YouTube just showing how it's done. Yeah, super easy. Pretty glad that I've managed to do this on my own. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. Thanks. Take care.